The Self-Care Learning and Discovery series is back, and it's bigger and bolder than ever. This is the premier self-care event of the year, bringing together self-care enthusiasts of all backgrounds and disciplines from around the world. The World Health Organization defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. We also know that self-care means different things to different people. What does self-care mean to you? You'll have ample opportunity to reflect on this question during the Discovery series, with more than 20 interactive virtual sessions organized by self-care experts worldwide. The Discovery series will elevate cutting-edge research, programming, and advocacy insights across a wide variety of self-care topics, and we encourage you to attend as many sessions as possible, especially on topics that may be new to you. The Self-Care Learning and Discovery series, a core activity of the Self-Care Trailblazer Group, is organized by the White Ribbon Alliance in partnership with co-sponsor organizations and esteemed steering committee members. We also want to thank all our session organizers and presenters who have voluntarily dedicated their time to curate this event with us. We are pleased to share that every session will offer live, simultaneous interpretation in French, Spanish, and English. To access the interpretation, simply navigate to your meeting controls located at the bottom of your screen. Click on the globe icon labeled Interpretation and select the language you'd like to hear. Joining from your phone, tap on the ellipses to find the interpretation feature and then select your language. Please note, you can switch languages at any time throughout the presentation. The session is now about to begin. Don't forget, whether you're working to influence policies or programs, advance universal health coverage, or improve your own self-care, we hope that you will take the learnings from today's discussion and apply it to your own work. To that end, we invite you to continue the conversation and take action with us by becoming a member of the Self-Care Trailblazer Group. So get curious, jump in, and share your ideas and insights with us. We look forward to advancing self-care together.
All right, Molly, should I get started?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So good morning, good evening to everyone. We're really excited to present our self-care model for postnatal care. My name is Ann Heyer, and I represent JPIGO. And today you'll be hearing from a group of us representing ThinkPlace, as well as Addis Continental in Ethiopia. So I'm going to introduce people actually as we go along, as opposed to doing all those introductions right now. So we have, let's see, I'm going to try to navigate my screen here. All right. So yes, self-care for postnatal care. It is indeed possible. That is the headline for our session today. And thanks to everyone for listening, because this is, it's quite exciting. We decided to just dive in and test this out. And so today, over these next 90 minutes, we're going to tell you why we chose to tackle this problem, what problem we're trying to solve, and the human-centered design process that ThinkPlace used to help us generate a range of solutions, which then enabled us to land on family-led postnatal care. We're going to take you through that co-creation process and then describe the model as it looks today. We are really excited because sitting in Addis Ababa on camera soon are some of the users of the model. We have a mother, a father, a custodian, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as well as a midwife. So please stay tuned for that. You'll have a chance to directly ask questions of them for how it's all gone trying out this particular self-care model. We were really fortunate to be able to not only test this out, not only to roll it out, but also to conduct some implementation research that Addis Continental in Addis conducted for us. So we will be hearing, you'll be hearing about those study results, and then we'll open it up for some questions at that time. All right. So the problem, I think many of you know that postnatal care has looked very similar for many decades. We're seeing in the data, not only in Ethiopia, but in many other countries, that our current postnatal care service delivery models simply are not reaching mothers and newborns with key life-saving interventions during the first week of life. The Ethiopia Ministry of Health, as well as WHO and many other countries, recommend postnatal care not only within the first 24 hours, but at day 3, day 7, and day 42. So while we're seeing really encouraging trends of women delivering in a health facility and therefore receiving postnatal care on day 1, but very, very few women and families come back for postnatal care during day 3, day 7. So this was the problem that we then chose to tackle. In Ethiopia, the PMA 2020 survey reported that only 35% of women had postnatal care within 48 hours of birth, and those numbers were dropping down to almost zero at day 3 and day 7. So we asked ourselves, how might we increase access to postnatal care, especially during that critical first week of life, which is so critical when you look at mortality or morbidity for both the mother as well as the baby. So we reached out to our colleagues at ThinkPlace, and I'm going to now hand this over to Ines, a senior strategic designer for ThinkPlace, who's going to now walk us through the process that ThinkPlace used that eventually brought us to family-led postnatal care.
Thank you very much, Anne. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. So my name is Ines. I work for ThinkPlace. We are a global design and research consultancy. And I'm just going to walk you through the very initial research phase of this project by explaining to you what human-centered design is. And then I'll be giving you sort of illustrating how that then happened in the field in Ethiopia. So human-centered design is an approach to designing products, services, or systems with the human in mind, i.e., from the perspective of the humans who are affected by or who will use these products, services, or systems. That's why human-centered design focuses first and foremost on understanding the humans, or the users, as we call them. And in order to understand, we conduct design research that is primarily composed of these two main diamonds that you see there, two main phases, which are research and prototyping. In the first phase, in the research phase, we start off with the intent, basically understanding what the objective of our research will be, what is the desired state, what does success look like, and what are the problems that we need to address. We then go to explore. So this is within the research diamond, we explore the current state. In this case, the state of postnatal care in Ethiopia. And we set out to understand how different users of the health system interact with each other, how they experience the health system. So for example, midwives, the doctors, but also the mothers' husbands, how do they all interact, and how is that shaping the low levels of uptake of postnatal care? And so in this phase, obviously, to be able to do that, we go to the field, we conduct interviews, focus group discussions, and observations. It's important not to judge users. That's why one of the pillars of human-centered design is empathy. We have to be empathetic. Our role is to understand, not to judge. And while we conduct research, we start seeing emerging patterns and trends, which allows us to start thinking about different areas of opportunity to design interventions that need to be tested. The reason why we use diamond shapes is because the opening part of the diamond is divergent thinking. So that allows for us to uncover as many insights, findings, and explore different areas. And then once we start seeing patterns, we sort of converge to specific solutions that we start thinking, okay, we need to start tackling this in the prototyping phase. So the research phase yields these different insights, these problem areas to focus. And this is where we design. The design stage here is we actually design prototypes, so interventions to be able to solve the issues at hand. So in the prototyping phase, we test the solutions in the real world, as I say, based on our insights. And prototyping is an applied way of learning. So the way we do this is we implement rapid, small-scale interventions in the real world to test hypotheses and questions that we want to answer. And again, we keep an open mind for divergence. And obviously, prototypes, they will fail. They will not always work. But the point is to iterate, so to adapt them as we go along and improve them. So keep on adapting a prototype until we see if it really works consistently. A lot of the times prototypes end up not working a lot, so then we pivot to another type of prototype. But the point here is that's very important is to test human behavior in the real world, because there's a gap between what people say and what people actually do. So that's where prototyping comes in, and that's super important. If we can go to the next slide, please.
Sorry, trying to get there. There we go.
No worries. So just to give you a little bit more background on the actual initial research phase, on the right, you'll see the different types of people that we interacted with. So obviously we didn't just focus on the women giving birth and the midwives, but we also sought to understand everyone around them who are directly or indirectly part of the health system. So that includes, the women's mothers-in-law or their husbands, women who are giving birth for the first time and also women who are giving birth the second time or more times, as there's a difference to their perceptions of the health system. Usually women who have already given birth, they feel like, oh, they know things, they know how things work, they don't really need postnatal care, they've been there before. And then from the health provider perspective, the midwives, but also the health extension workers that work in the communities, the health development army, and also importantly, religious leaders and healers who are very much present in different communities and that people trust. So we sought to understand and to interview, interact with them. And another thing that we did also, on the left, you'll see what we call bespoke interactive research tools. So on top of interviewing and conducting focus group discussions, we also like to design activities with the research participants in order to understand how they think about certain things. So for example, in the Good Advice Corner activity, we presented mothers with the story of someone who had a dilemma regarding postnatal care. And so we asked them, oh, what advice would you give this person? And doing that allows us to understand people's different mental models, like, oh, you should do this. No, you shouldn't do this. For example, in Global Moms, we presented different videos of women giving birth and postnatal care in different parts of the world, Japan, Namibia, Peru, and again, to elicit their reactions. And then this decision-making game, it was more of a game experience where we had to ask, this was more for husbands, to ask where they would put their money, where they saw more value in a given part of the health service. And like I say, this is interesting because it helps us understand people's mental models in a way that not always comes up in sort of more traditional interviews. So I'm going to ask, well, all of this uncovered a lot of learnings. And I have a question for you, which is, who do you think that the new mothers trust the most?
Yes, we have a poll for you all. What did our findings tell us? Who did women most trust in that first week of life? We'll just
Answers are coming in.
Yeah, I see that. Just give a few more. You have 54% have responded. Maybe a few more can respond. Molly, am I the one who would end the poll?
I can do that. I'll do that now.
Okay. All right. And maybe everyone is seeing the results there. Ines, I'll go back to you now. You seeing the results, Ines?
Am I seeing the result? Oh yeah, I no wait. I am now. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, there we go.
That's fine. Okay, so everyone sees the results. So it's very interesting. Relatives come at the top. Well, after husband, health providers, not so much. Friends and neighbors, the least, and no one chose healers and religious leaders. That's very interesting. Okay, so the answer is in the next slide.
Sorry. I've got
No
too
worries.
many things going on. Is the poll still, are you still seeing this poll?
Yeah, I've minimized it on the chat, but actually no, I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't think anyone is.
Okay, good.
So everyone knew the answer, or most people knew the answer, because the answer is indeed the husband. So this pyramid basically shows the levels of trust in order of importance. So at the basis is the husband. He's the most trusted. He's got a lot of decision-making power of what happens in the household. He's also, in general, what we found is husbands, men are more literate. And so the women tend to trust their husbands more. Also, the relatives, they play an important role. But yeah, the most trustworthy people around women that women trust in their day-to-day lives are the husbands and the relatives. Healers and religious leaders, not so much comparatively, but what's interesting is that healers and religious leaders and their friends and neighbors come before the health providers. And so, yeah, with this information, I mean, other very key important insights that the research revealed was that, families, they also lack the confidence in their ability to care for the newborn. This is something that it's kind of seen as like, oh, the mother will know how to do this, it's natural for her. But when it comes to the actual day-to-day and making decisions, they don't really know what the signs are of a healthy baby or a baby that's getting ill, or for the signs for the mother to look out for in her health. We also found that postnatal care isn't valued as a service, and that families only seek postnatal care at a health facility as a last resort. So usually the women get discharged from the health facility and that's it. And they're usually by themselves, they're exhausted, they're not really receiving any sort of useful information. And so it's not really seen as a thing, postnatal care. Also, the home is perceived as the safest place to care for the newborn. And in many places, there's this tradition of needing to stay for 40 days at home and resting and eating and not really interacting with the outside world as much. So that's also something that influences whether the women go out to a health facility or not. And then, yeah, what we found is that when women get discharged, they don't have any counseling. So they just sort of get discharged, and the midwives may speak a little bit to them, but they won't necessarily engage in explaining what they need to do, signs to look out for. And if they do, again, the women are very tired to absorb all this information. Therefore, all of these insights made us think of all these 5 different prototypes. Now, for the interest of time, I will just focus on the two that ended up being that we saw that worked best and that we ended up recommending for further testing. The first one is the improved discharge plan, which is specifically, again, about improving this moment of the discharge. It's about involving, so what we did differently when we tested this was we made sure that women, when they're getting discharged, are accompanied by a family member, usually the husband. Again, the husbands tend to be more literate. They're obviously more awake and more, well, they're more receptive to the information that the midwives need to give to the mothers. And so, yeah, it sort of worked both ways. First was linking, so including the husband, or if not, another family member like the mother-in-law. And then from the midwife's perspective, making sure that the midwives explained important information about postnatal care to the women. We also tested some visual aids. So we created a blanket, like with postnatal care blankets, saying, signs to look out for that signal that the baby might be running into health issues, or signs to look out for the mother, or make sure to come back after day 3, after day 7. So that was providing visual tools for the midwives to explain key information to the mothers, but also making sure that the mothers are supported by having a family member who can really be receptive to this information and who can really act upon this information, so the mother doesn't need to keep all of this in mind, because again, like I say, they're exhausted, they're in a very sort of fragile moment. And another key aspect of the discharge plan is to link, so then the midwives end up getting, the phone number of the husband, and if it's not the husband's because there's no phone, some contact number that they can follow up with afterwards to call back and send reminders that, day 3 you need to come back, or day 7 you need to come back. So that was the improved discharge plan. Then there was also the self-care kits. Now, the point about the self-care kit was that, postnatal care is supposed to focus on both the baby and the mother's health, but the mothers tend to focus only on the baby and not on their own well-being. And so in order to promote this idea that, it's important for the mothers to also care for themselves, and to see postnatal care as like a distinct phase afterwards. Care doesn't end when you just give birth. There's a phase afterwards that you need to also keep in mind to make sure that health outcomes are reached. We decided to test this idea of a kit, a postnatal care kit, which includes different types of products like mother's cream or baby oil or maternity pads or soap, also warm baby clothes. And the idea was to encourage mothers to explore self-care and baby care through the use of concrete products. And what we found was that mothers actually preferred the soap because they found it more useful, which is positive because, it contributes to hygiene. And yeah, that was the very initial phase of the postnatal care kit, which then, as Anne will be explaining now, then evolved into something else. Over to you, Anne.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Ines. Yes. So as a result of all of those fabulous findings from Think Place, and I can share in the chat a little bit later a website that we created with all of the Think Place findings from Ethiopia as well as other countries. But what we really wanted was, as I mentioned before, we wanted to focus on the first week of life. We wanted a model that would start at the health center, focused on the discharge counseling, but continue at home in a self-care model. We wanted to be sure that we were involving families in the discharge process, that it wouldn't be just mothers, but families involved at that time of discharge, given who women trust the most. We wanted to design a kit for postnatal care using some easy to use devices. Given how much women wanted and drew upon community members. We wanted our model to involve community members, and we wanted something that would help families feel confident knowing what's normal and what is not normal. When do we need to seek care? And we wanted to be sure that they were then linked back to the health center in the time of detecting a danger sign. So I'm now going to turn over to our team in Addis, Konjit, to take us through the process. Just briefly, Konjit, we're running a little bit behind to just describe the process we went through that brought us to family-led postnatal care. Konjit, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Anne. Hello, everyone. My name is Konjit Walde from Japaigo Ethiopia office in Addis Ababa. I will try to explain the family-led postnatal care co-creation process briefly. Next slide, please. So the first thing we did was engaging the facility midwives and identify tools to improve the discharge process. The discharge script for midwives was identified and developed together with the midwives and nurses in one health center, which is the Dure Health Center, to help them remind the key assessment during discharge. So the other main tools we developed was a 7-day health checklist to be completed at the health facility by the midwife during discharge for day 1. Then the midwife will give the checklist to the family to use at home for the next 6 days. And the family will return to custodians on the 7th day. Another tool we developed was a photo booklet for families to use at home to check the mother and the baby, the key danger signs by comparing healthy and danger signs photos. We have also developed a register to use by the custodian to register families who retrieved the home care kit. The midwife, during the development, the midwife tested the script and the checklist with the mother delivered in the facility and one village to see the tools are acceptable by the community. So after that, after we test the tools in one kabale, we started to prepare the home care kit, which consists of blood pressure machine, infrared thermometer, health education booklet, and family health guide. Then in collaboration with Kabale leaders and health extension workers, we selected custodians who manage the home care kit. The custodians include the village health leaders, Kabale administrators, and religious leaders. Next slide, please. Then we conducted orientation on the model to custodians, midwives, and health extension workers, and piloted in 4 kabales for 2 months. Then we wanted to pilot the phase to see if the families are able to use the tools. Remember to return the checklist to custodian after the use for 7 days. And we also ask question who will be volunteers to serve the community as a home care kit custodians. Finally, how many boxes are needed to put in the community, so that, and also where to put so that the community can access easily. Then after we pilot the intervention for 2 months, we had a reflection meeting with midwives, custodians, health extension workers to learn from the pilot period and we identified three key issues to consider for the implementation period. The first one was the discharge script. As you can see, it was a three-pager script, and the midwife indicated that the management of the script during the discharge process was not convenient, and also the check, because they use the checklist at the same time. And so we suggested to change it to poster. So we changed it to poster. The other thing was box. The box was not durable. So during the pilot phase, it was broken very quickly. So we changed it to a durable one. The third one is so the other one is then we post the poster at the PNC room so that they can see the midwives while they are doing the discharge process. Then after we improve all the tools and the necessary equipment, we started to implement. This was the process we went through. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So with the pilot, we really just wanted to understand, is this even feasible at all? Answering all those questions that Konji had described. And we decided at the end of that brief pilot that yes, this was actually working. Families were coming. And so at that point, that's when we then settled on this design. And I'll turn it to you, Della, to talk about what the current family-led postnatal care model.
Thank you, Anne. So you saw from the human-centered design, we had these insights that potentially a self-care model along with an improved discharge could work. So we then tested it with the health center, and you saw that, like Anne said, from the pilot, that was possible. So I'm going to give you sort of a bird's eye view of what the family-led postnatal care is. So what you see here on the slide is a journey that a woman who delivers in a facility and her family go through, and those different numbers are indicating the steps, and I'll go through them. So as the first step, you'll see on the top left corner, a woman has just delivered. She's in there with her family, and the midwife is there as well. She congratulates them. And in step 2, you notice that she's asking the family members to step outside while she's doing these key health checks that require privacy. Afterwards, in step 3, she has invited the family back into the room and is doing these key postnatal checks for the mother and the newborn using the checklist and the script, or that's now a poster that Konji described. And she's doing key checks like checking the mother's blood pressure, her temperature, the newborn's temperature, as well as the umbilical cord, etc., key postnatal checks. And as she's doing them, she's actually describing what she's doing to the family and also filling in a checklist that Konji mentioned. Once she's done with the assessment, she's completed the first day assessment, she gives the checklist to the family and then also informs them, this is step 4, informs them that they can go to a community and get this home care kit that has the thermometer, the blood pressure cuff, and the picture booklet from the community and continue to do these same checks at home and also fill the checklist. So then you see the family in step 5 leaving the facility. In step 6, you see a family member, in this case, a husband, going into the community and retrieving this home care kit. In step 7, you're seeing that the family, step 8 actually, you're seeing the family continuing to do the checks for the mother, and you also see the mother doing the checks for her newborn. Then when we move to step 9, you see that they've been informed. In the case that there is an abnormal sign, so the checklist has, is it normal or is it abnormal? So if they see something that's not normal, that's the red box that they would check. They've been instructed to then contact a health worker. In the Ethiopian case, it's a health extension worker, which is who is a community health worker, or the health center where they delivered, and actually seek care for that. They continue to do these checks for till the 7th day post-delivery. And then on the 7th day, we're now to step 11. You see the family member returning the home care kit to the custodian. And finally, under step 12, you see that a community health worker now goes to the custodian and collects the checklist that the family member would have dropped with the home care kit. So that's what the journey looks like. And in case you missed anything, and the next slide, Anne will actually play a video. So over back to you, Anne.
Yes, so I hope, let's see, get this video to play. Are you hearing the audio?
Yes. Oh, briefly went out now, though.
Family-led postnatal care
Yeah.
is an innovative model that brings postnatal care directly into the home and hands of postnatal women and their families during the critical first week of life. At the health center, the healthcare provider invites family members to join in the discharge counseling. The healthcare provider completes a comprehensive postnatal check of mother and newborn, guided by a checklist. As she does her checks, the healthcare provider shows the family how to use a blood pressure cuff, thermometer, and what other physical signs to monitor for the mother and newborn. It also shows the family how to use the same checklist that she has used. On discharge, the healthcare provider gives the family the checklist with instructions on where to collect a home care kit in the community. The home care kit contains a blood pressure machine, digital thermometer, and a health education booklet to help the family detect danger signs. Upon returning home, a family member collects the home care kit from a community home care kit custodian. Each day for 6 days, the family monitors the health and well-being of the mother and newborn using the devices, health education booklet, and checklist. If a danger sign is detected, the checklist reminds the family to seek care from a healthcare provider. After using the home care kit for 6 days, the family returns the kit to the home care kit custodian. The family also returns the completed checklist to the custodian. The home care kit custodian ensures that all the contents of the kit are in good working order and prepares the kit for the next family by charging the blood pressure device or replacing batteries. At the end of each month, the community health worker collects the completed checklists and records the information in the routine monthly registers.
Whoops. Sorry, for some reason it's not advancing to the next slide. Okay, here we are. All right, so I hope that Della's description of the journey map, as well as that video, have given you a sense of what family-led postnatal care looks like. And as I mentioned, we have in our office in Addis, we have a mother and a father and a midwife and one of our home care custodians who are there and are able to answer any questions you have. We will, at the end of the session, have another question and answer about the model, about our research findings, things like that. Right now, we were just hoping that you might have some questions and might want to hear how the users actually enjoyed or used this process, any challenges or difficulties, and how it went. We will be doing some translation simultaneously. So your question can come in English or another language. Someone in our ADIS office will then translate for the family members and the custodian, and then translate it back in English. So please bear with us as we try out this process. But feel free to now unmic and ask any questions, or you can also write them in the chat if you prefer that instead. So any questions for one of the mothers or the father or the home care custodian? Are there any questions coming in through the chat? Where is the chat? All right, so there is a question about how the home care kit custodians were selected. And maybe then also how for, I think it's Hurud who might be there, the custodian, wondering if you could explain as well how you heard about this and why you decided to volunteer to play this role in the community. So Konjit and Lelo, if I can have you guys translate and then let us know the response just by unmuting your audio.
So
And if
should
you could
we
come on
answer?
video also, if you could turn on your video if possible.
So, and should we answer how we selected the custodians first? And
Well, maybe you could talk about how you selected, and then Hurut, if you could explain how why you decided to volunteer for this role, how you heard about it and why you volunteered. Uh-oh, Konjit, we've lost you on video. Are you still there? And you're muted. Okay. Konjit, we're not hearing.
እኔም ደግሞ ይሄን የመጣውን እንትን እንዲያገኙ እናቶች ለዛ ብዬ ነው ለእናቶች እና ለህፃናቶች ለመርዳት ለማገዝ ብዬ ማለት ነው ውስጤ ፈቃደኛ የሆነው።
can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, we're hearing, Konjit.
So this is Hirut, the custodian from Ada district. So she said that she's very willing to serve the community. So when she get this opportunity, she was happy to help the community.
And how was she notified? How did she know that this opportunity was there? How did we spread the word in the community?
መረዴ ያው መጀመሪያም በማህበረሰቡ ውስጥ እሰራለሁኝ አሁን ደግሞ ያው ከዚህ ካገኘው ስልጠና ጋር በተያያዘ እናቶች ለመርዳት ፈቃደኛ ሆንኩ።
So she said that she already serves the community in other capacity, and she heard that this intervention is coming, and Kabali administrators, they informed her that if she's interested to serve the community. So she was willing to do that as well.
Okay. And I'll just add here for the audience that we were very deliberate in selecting in going outside of the healthcare system for selecting the custodians. And we also were deliberate that we wanted the home care kits to be located not at the health post, which is of course where many people said, put it at the health post. And we said, no, we want to try something different because we learned from women and heard from women that they don't trust the healthcare system and the health providers, except in a last resort situation. They were more trustful of community. So we said, let's try putting the kit at a community location and see if families will go and pick it up. So any other questions from the audience? Maybe while we're waiting, Konjit, if we could ask of the mother or the father who are there, if you could just describe how it was to use the devices, whether you had any difficulties using the blood pressure device. This is always a big question. Would people be able to use a blood pressure device or the thermometer? Would they be able to use a checklist? So wondering, Lelo, if maybe we could hear how that process went and any troubles or difficulties they had. It looks like you're off video again, Konjit. And while we're waiting, if others can think of questions you have that you might want to ask about how the self-care model worked, how the users found the model. Didefo, it looks like you were trying to maybe turn on a video. We're not seeing the video. We're not hearing that either.
Actually, my video is open. Are you seeing me now?
No, we only see black, but we do hear you. So maybe if you can, just provide a response to that.
Okay. The father is on the next to me, and the mother is just, I'm sitting between the mother and the father so that I can forward the question to the father first, and then are you hearing me? Just I'm sitting between the two. Yeah.
And now
the
we
father.
see video, but if you can lower your screen, Didefo, so we can see. Lower the computer screen, the laptop screen. Yes, there, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, just I'm sitting between the father and the mother. So that can I forward the question to the father or to the mother first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Waan dhibeen qabu waan gaariidha haala fayyadamiinsa irratti jechuudha. Gosa lamaan kenna waan ta'eef mallattoodhaaf akkasuma barreeffamaan kenna waan ta'eef waan dhibeen qabu.
He's saying that there is no challenge on using the gadget because there's color on the checklist, and there's easy to use the gadget as well, because when we get any danger sign, we will go to the color and then we put sign on the color what the father is saying. Can I forward the same question to the mother?
Sure. Yep. Yep.
Okay. ለእኔም በቂ መረጃ ተሰጥቶኝ ስለነበረ ምንም አይነት ችግር አልነበረውም። መጀመሪያ እንትን የሚነበብ መጽሔት ተሰጥቶን ነበረ። እሱንም አንብበናል። በከለርም እንትን ማለት ስለነበረ ምንም የሚያስቸግር ነገር አልነበረም።
What she's saying is that we were very informed by the media at the health facility, and beside that, we have the photo booklet which clearly depicts the sign so that it's not easy for us to identify the sign and then to put on the checklist.
Okay, great. Sarah Mora, I see that you've put a question in the chat saying that you came a bit later and you're not sure if a question was discussed, but oh, here we go. Are the health booklets and health guides structured in a way that all users understand, regardless of their literacy level? So yes, and Didifo, maybe you can again ask, you could ask about the checklist and the photo booklet. Sarah, letting you know that the booklet was a booklet of photos that we prepared. We had a photographer go out and follow a family for 7 days to show what the normal progression of the umbilical cord and other things like that, bleeding, things like that, what normal looks like. And then we showed in the photo booklet what abnormal looks like, or not normal, when they should seek care. Didifo, could you talk about, could you ask them a question about how, yeah, if they could describe the photo booklet and how they used that booklet?
I'll give you a chance for the mother just to respond on that.
Yeah.
She's saying that there is no challenge to use the material because already she mentions that we were very informed by the midwifery, and again, when the custodian gave us the gadget and the checklist, she demonstrated the photo booklet so that it's very easy to identify what's normal and what's abnormal from the photo booklet. And again, the checklist has its own sign, which is very easy for any literate person because it has green and red color, so that's very easy to identify the colors, what she's saying.
Okay, great, thanks. And I should point out as well for the audience that in our study, 75% of the women, of the respondents, had an education level that was primary education or below. So 75% had quite low levels of education. And as we're now going to move to the results, you are going to see that in this setting, families really were able to use this. Let's see. Okay, I see Dominique, you put something in the chat. It looks like a comment. So why don't we can move to the results now, and then we'll open it up for questions again. You may have more questions for the family or the custodian, or other questions in general once you see the results. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gadise, who represents Addis Continental Institute of Public Health in Addis Ababa. So let's see here. Sorry. Okay. Gadise, are you seeing my screen okay?
Yes, thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone. So this is Gadise. I'm from Addis Continental, who was the study partner of this research. So I'll be taking you through the results sections. So the intervention was implemented in 4 health centers and their catchment qabalis, which are the smallest structures in Ethiopia government. So there were 33 custodians selected, of which 22 were, the majority were committee leaders. Next slide, please. So the research question we had was, the coverage was the first one, being, is there any difference in the proportion of women and newborns who had a postnatal check within the first 1 day, the first 3 days, and within the 7 days? So the first question was the coverage. The second question is acceptability. How acceptable is this model at the facility level, household, community level? Was the community willing to take the checklist and do the assessments at home? Was one of the second questions. And the third one was the feasibility. How feasible is this FPNC to implement, where the family is able to use this devices with difficulty, where they're able to fill in the checklist, were one of the feasibility questions we had. And the fourth one was sustainability. So 6 months after the study completion, what proportion of the checklist were filled by the facilities, and the mothers were the sustainability related questions. Study design, we used a mixed sequential method, quantitative pre-intervention, which lasted for 8 weeks, and then quantitative again in the post-intervention period. We had a 1 month period for the intervention, and then the post-intervention period, we also collected quantitative and qualitative data. The quantitative data collection lasted for 8 weeks, and the qualitative was done at the end of the quantitative data collection. The data collection was from November 2022 to April 2023. We had 119 postnatal women in the pre-intervention period and 110 in the post-intervention period. We have also included the postnatal discharge counselors, which are the midwives, the health managers of each health centers, and the extension workers who are working in the catchment qabalis, the families and husband of the postnatal woman, and the home care custodian were included in the qualitative study. So 6 months after the end of the post-intervention data collection, which will be now in November, in the coming few weeks, the sustainability study will be done at the 4 health centers. Next slide, please. So when we come to the result sections, it's not displaying well. Can you see it well? Hello?
Are you seeing it okay? The slide that says FPNC works?
No, I see half and half part
Same
of the
here, Anne. Okay, it's coming. It's loading slowly.
Okay, it's probably because of all the photos.
I think so. So I'll get started, or should I wait?
No, I think you can get started, especially if you can see some of the numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so when we come to the results section, we have found that this FPNC model was able to work. So out of the 110 mothers who have delivered in the post-intervention period, 150 mothers who have delivered in
Uh-oh, are we frozen?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Let's see. Are other participants hearing?
Yes, now it's coming.
And now it's visible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just right.
Okay, we may have lost Gadise. Did we lose Gadise? Della, maybe you want to step in and take over?
Sure. Okay. And if Gadise is back, to let me know. So as Gadise was saying, so what we saw from the model is that FPNC does work. So we had 115 women, this is now in the post-intervention period, that delivered in a facility, of which 96% took the checklist home with them. Now, if you go down to the bottom, the second circle at the bottom of these, 95% actually went and retrieved the home care kit from a custodian. So that's 105 women. Then when you go to the top middle circle of them, 100% returned the kit by day 8, which was really good. That was something we were wondering about. And then along with the the kits, they also returned 92% returned the checklist. And at the end of the month, of all the checklists that were given to the custodian, 70% were collected by the community health worker. So it's showing us that the PNC could be tracked into the system as well. Next slide, please.
It looks like Gadise. Sorry, Della. I did see it came back. Gadise, are you back now?
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry, the connection. I'll be putting on my economy. I think the video had some bandwidth problem. So I'll continue. Thank you, Della and Anne. So I'm guessing the IPNC work part was done. So we go into the existing slide. So the post-discharge coverage of the PNC checks in the mothers and newborns has increased by 8-fold. As you can see, prior to the introduction of the PNC, in the 4 intervention health centers, we collected from 190 postpartum women who deliver in the health centers and to learn about their PNC in the 24 hours, within 3 days, and 7 days. And after introducing, we collected this data for 110. And as you can see, within the 24 hours, because all women who are enrolled in this study were delivered in the health center, the postnatal check in the first 24 hours is very high in both pre and post-intervention period. There is slightly higher in the post-intervention period, where 100% of the women got the postnatal checks in the first 24 hours. We'll have the quality of the checks within the first week following the discharge and within the 24 hours in the coming slide. But following the discharge, you can see that they're very women and newborns who got a 9% and following the discharge. And with FPNC, as you can see, women who may not have had any PNC now check themselves and their newborns through the self-care model. And almost 96% of these women in the post-intervention period and newborns were able to have a postnatal checks. It shows a greater than 8-fold increase in the postnatal coverage in both newborns and the women's. The pre-intervention, the average number of days any PNC was checked within the first 1 week was less than 2 days in the pre-intervention period and greater than 6.5 days in the post-intervention period. It has increased significantly in the post-intervention period. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the checks, we also saw not only the coverage, but also the quality and the comprehensiveness of the PNC checks. As you can see, there are significantly lower number, almost less than 60% of the women had a comprehensive postnatal check, and the same is true for the neonates. The checks, the postnatal checks that was supposed to be done in the first 24 hours, there are only less number of women, which is less than 60% the pre-intervention and less than 80% in the post-intervention, in the pre-intervention for the neonates. But in the post-intervention, as you can see, almost all women had all the postnatal component, the signs and symptoms checked are full. So the checks has become more comprehensive in the post-intervention period, both for the women and the mother and the newborns.
Gadise, if I can just, Gadise, sorry, if I can add here for the audience. So you can see that even for the checks that were done at the health center within the first 24 hours pre-intervention, that critical elements like, headache, bleeding, temperature were actually not even checked. And so we can see that even when postnatal care is happening in facilities, often some of the critical elements are not checked. You can see there's lots of quality issues. With this in post-intervention, you can then see how much more comprehensive the checks were, that the critical elements for the baby, the umbilical cord, breastfeeding, their breathing, temperature, all of those were checked in both in the health center as well as at home post-intervention. So we were very excited about that particular finding. So sorry, Gadise, just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for pointing that out. So when we come to the danger signs, one of the big questions we were asked about if pregnancies, whether families will actually seek care if they detect the danger signs. And through our post-intervention data collection of women and families, once they returned home, we found that 20 families had detected or identified a danger sign in the postnatal moments. Most of these danger signs were raised and high BPs. Of those families who detected a danger sign, 80% of those sought care from healthcare provider at the health facilities. So the danger sign detected in the pre-intervention is 6.7% only in the pre-intervention for the women, for the mothers, and it has increased to 17% in the post-intervention period. As we can see, there were more danger signs detected, and of those women, 80% have sought care from healthcare providers. And 3 families, next slide, please. So 3 families have detected danger signs in the newborn in the post-intervention period. 2 is related with umbilical cord condition and 1 related with skin care problems. And 100% of those families have sought care in the post-intervention period. While in the pre-intervention, 4.2% of the families detected danger sign and 80% sought care. So in the post-intervention period, there is an increased or frequent care seeking for danger signs identified as compared to the pre-interventions, as 100% of the families who have detected danger sign have sought care. Next slide, please. So one of the questions we had is, were families able to use this these devices, the BP devices with hello?
Yeah, sorry,
Hello?
your voice is coming in and out a bit, but continue, go ahead.
Okay. Most families were able to use these devices without difficulty, both the BP device and the thermometers. So 82.7% of the families were able to use this device with no difficulty, while 12.7 and 11.8% of the families had difficulties of using this device at first, but were able to use it with repeated use. And only 5.5 and 4.6% of the families did not use the devices. So most of the families were use these devices without difficulty, showing it is feasible to do it in the low rural areas. The other thing is 95% of the women prefer this pregnancy approach as compared to the traditional pregnancy postnatal cares. And 99% of the women have mentioned that to like this pregnancy approach of monitoring their health and their baby's health at home. And 95% of the women also feel confident that the mother and the baby are receiving good postnatal care when doing the assessments with the home care kit at home. So it is highly acceptable, and they are also confident that this is they're getting a good postnatal care when doing the assessments at home. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Yes, maybe it's taking some time because of the.
We're going.
Gadise, we're not hearing you.
We're going to take you through some of our qualitative findings. Hello? Hello?
Yes, keep going. Yeah, your voice is kind of coming in and out still.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we're hearing you. Yes.
Recording. Hello? 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 Sorry.
Okay, yes, now we're hearing you better. Good to say, I think.
Okay. So mothers have felt more confident and empowered. There is a woman, a mother, postnatal mother, discussing how confident she is after using these FNC checks. So here is our quote. I have the confidence to ask for the things that have to be done now because I know better now. I get support, like, for example, my husband serves food before I ask because they advised. So this is better than being served after asking for food. My husband does not hesitate to help me because they advised. So this woman, a postnatal woman, is emphasizing how the postnatal discharge counseling have impacted her husband's involvement following the counseling and the postnatal checks at home. And here is another woman, how she was doing the checks at home on herself. After receiving that advice, I became more in tune with my own body and started to listen to what I was feeling. I learned to check and monitor myself and take proactive steps to ensure my well-being. So this is a mother explaining how she was able to do the checks and was able to identify if there is any problem with her. So fathers were more involved in the postnatal checks at home. And this is a father explaining how involved he was with the chicks. I will take care of my baby before anyone else. As per tradition, males are not allowed to go inside where the mother who delivered is resting. And they never eat what is prepared for the mother. But now I take care of both the mother and the baby. So he's comparing as a previous traditional practice as compared to what he's doing now, that he's proactively following his wife and newborn. Mothers have also appreciated father's involvement. Here is a mother saying, previously we relied heavily on traditional practice for most things. However, this time, my partner has shown great empathy and understanding due to the service we have received. Mothers noted their husbands were more involved than they expected, and the fathers were helping with doing the checks, retrieving and returning the kids from the home care kid custodians, and doing household chores. All mothers have agreed that this behavioral change from the mothers and the fathers and highly involvement of the fathers is due to the advice the husband goes at the health center. This has fostered a sense of responsibility and encouraged their husbands to be more involved. So custodians have expressed taking great pride in their new community role. They have enjoyed their role. They have of the roles they were doing. The first one is offering the device demonstration and counseling family members on the use of the daily checklists. They taught family members to provide the kits in their absence and thereby reducing the chance of the family not getting the kit whenever the custodian is not at home. So I'm happy that mothers are getting help even at home. Mother used to deliver home, bleed, but now they deliver at health center facilities and get the follow-up at home too. When they see red, they go to the facility. Healthcare providers also support this FPNC approach. Here is a midwife explaining why she supported this FPNC approach. I strongly support FPNC. The previous trend was to ignore the family and only focus on the mother. When there is a danger sign, the mother and family relied on traditional treatments. So, in my experience, involving the family in the counseling helped to detect postnatal complications easily and helped families seek medical care in the health facilities. Also, there is another midwife explaining why she supports the FPNC model. In the past, the healthcare provider might have missed important detail while providing the service because they lacked an organized checklist form. But now that FPNC has provided the checklist, we follow it, which help the health care providers provide discharge counseling service at the required level. Next slide, please. So the FPNC system is integrated within the existing healthcare system, and it links back to the existing health system. Here is a health extension worker explaining what she did after the family contacted her for after identifying a danger sign. Yes, there was a case where a mother identified high blood pressure in herself and promptly contacted me. I conducted a checkup and determined that she needed immediate care. So I referred her to a health center for further evaluation and management. So whenever the families identify danger sign, both in the mother and the newborn, they are advised to promptly contact the health extension worker or the healthcare provider at the health centers, so they'll get a proper management following the danger signs. Now, when we come to the study conclusion, we have known that this FPNC model is feasible and highly acceptable among the families, the community, and the healthcare providers. With FPNC, women and newborns received FPNC checks that they otherwise would not have had. Families sought care when danger signs are detected too. Thank you. Back to you, Anne.
Yes, thank you, Gadise. All right, we have, so I hope everyone enjoyed seeing those results as much as we did when we were doing our analysis, because again, there were just so many questions about whether or not this would even be feasible, and and how would people like it? Would they have faith in it as providing some quality care? So we were really pleased to see those results, and we're eager to share them with you all today. So we have 10 minutes remaining, and Megan, I saw your question in the chat, and thank you, Professor Alamayu, while Gadise was presenting, for putting those age brackets in. And Megan, I see your question here about whether this was tested with any women who delivered at home. So for the purposes of rolling this out, we opted to focus on the full continuum from health facility to the home, but we very much are hoping that word will be spreading within the community, and that any family who delivers at home would then would go and seek the home care kit. One of the things that's on the home care kit is a listing of families who have used the kit, in the hopes that if a family member, if another family is having difficulties using the blood pressure device or anything, that they might reach out to another family for guidance on how to use it. So our hope is that in these communities where the home care kits are still available to families, that families who have delivered at home will also seek out the kit. although for the purposes of our study and this initial implementation, we did not look at that specifically. All right, I'm looking to see if we have other questions, but please feel free to unmic, or Megan, if you have additional questions or would like to ask anything of the family or the custodian. Please, everyone, do feel free to just unmic, or I don't know actually if you can even unmic him, but you can put the question in the chat. Molly, are they able to unmic?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. And thank you to the others. Thank you, Preeta, for the encouraging remarks. Preeta, to add to what you said, is as you noticed in our slide, we included the quality, because that was a real question for us, or it was almost a hypothesis, I would say. When we were designing this, we suspected that women may indeed have more comprehensive care through a self-care model than what we were seeing in facilities. So if those women had gone back for PNC at day 3 and day 7, they actually, the quality of that visit may not have been as good as the ones that they were doing at home. So we were very careful to also include that element in our survey tools, to understand what elements were being checked at the facility and what elements were being checked at home. We really wanted to feel like we had something strong to stand on, to say that, hey, self-care can actually be maybe even better than care that's provided at a health facility. And I'm a nurse midwife and I'm saying these things, but so yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit. So, and then Megan, you may have seen that I did ask the question. So Harut, the custodian who is there in the office, she did not see any women who had delivered at home. But one custodian from another area did see a woman who had delivered at home. It looks like, Lelo, that the woman did go to the custodian to ask for the home care kit, since she had heard from others who had delivered. So we have at least one instance of that. But as I said, we are really hoping that the word will spread and more families will seek the home care kit, even when they've delivered at home. All right. Anything else? As I mentioned, I will, let me pull it up here just quickly before we finish. I wanted to put in, if anyone is interested in all of the Think Place findings, we created a spot for that. This is a wonderful website that, if you want to look into some of the more in depth into our Ethiopian findings, you can find them there. We also, Think Place also did very similar work for us in Mali, Malawi, and Kenya, and you can find the results, all of those insights on that particular link that I've just put in the chat. All right, well, I really thank everyone for joining us. Please reach out with any additional questions or requests for materials. Oh, I forgot, we actually have one more poll, don't we, Molly, to conclude. So one more poll, if you can bear with us for just a moment. Molly, are you able to launch that? Which is, now that you've heard about this for postnatal care, on a scale of 1 to 5, how feasible do you think it would be to apply this or a similar self-care model, maybe for antenatal care or something, in your context? I'm just curious to hear how feasible it might be for you. And as I said, do reach out for questions, or if you might be interested in helping us try this out or scaling it up yourselves in other areas. I'm just waiting on the results here. I'm seeing, I'm actually really encouraged to see that people are feeling that this would be feasible. Let's give it maybe just a little bit more time, Molly, and then you could share those results. Okay, Molly, do you want to end the poll? And all right. So I don't know if you all were saying that just to make us feel better, but I'm encouraged because again, there were so many questions for us. Is this feasible? And we were so fortunate to be able to roll it out and have Addis Continental study it. And the results were actually really more encouraging than we thought. So I'm really glad to see that others think that this might be feasible. So thank you, everyone. Please help us spread the word, and thanks for attending, and thank you all of our presenters and the family members who are there in Addis. Thanks a lot.
Thank you and have a good day.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.